Good morning. There's a whole issue that's on the table. I find myself being the activist. What a position. Activism. Anyway, back in 1970, I encountered my equal. Can you imagine? Equal? What do you mean, equal? Well, when I first came to New York City way back when, from South Carolina, way back when, in the two-room schoolhouse with the potbelly stove, the chalkboard that squeaked. My education begun. Wow. The first day I realized that this could be good, but I don't feel too good about it. So that was my first dose of pay attention. Oh, I can't drift anymore, you mean? So, once I got to this town here, that education kind of like came into place. Pay attention. So I noticed a lot of things by paying attention. Everything changed in a spatial way. Imagine that. Spatial. So there I was in the middle of this source of force. Wow. To watch it happen. So my education began to spiral in all types of ways. Movies, music, wow. Oops, pay attention, there's other things going on now. So, pieces came, pieces went. Each one I gained another piece of pay attention. All those pay attention came all the way up to the point of me getting into this thing called photography. Pay attention. Boy, did I have to pay attention. I even had to go back and start reading again. Can you imagine? I had to get into arithmetic. I had to get into formulas, chemistry. Can you imagine me getting into things like that I simply had no interest in, but now it's information I need to know? So I flipped off into that world of need to know, pay attention. In 1972, most of my pay attention information began to, as the saying goes, bear fruit. Bear fruit, mind you, not fruit, bear fruit. So I reached out for more information. And I found that didn't have to reach that far to get that information. Library, fill out its ticket, and wait an hour. That became somewhat of an ordeal, or with a trip. Those books were buried so deep in the system, even the best of knowledgeable people had trouble finding them. And then I realized there's something wrong with this. Why haven't people who was interested in photography take a deeper interest in its true history? So, what was the problem? Just like the whole idea goes beyond imagination. So I decided to get into literature. Can you imagine jumping over from photography into literature? Why? I like the way words create images. Or as one person told me, images. You know what images? I didn't. Anyway, it was just another avenue to understanding how the idea as an image gives itself presence in another portion of the mind. Interesting, yeah? So the mirror became the fascination. Mirrors. Wow. I remember as a kid looking in the mirror. I look at other creatures over a period of time, how they see themselves in the mirror. Anyway, Lewis Carroll became the objective of my reading. After my earlier adventures in movie land, some of the more impressive movies that ever and ever lingers in the back of my mind. Pieces of it. Alice in Wonderland. Wow. Walt Disney, man. Real one. Real. There's many others, but somehow or another he got into the distribution just right. But after that, there were many other interesting pieces of the future. How is it seen and perceived, the future? And the medium that played host to all of this is photography. So that's one little bit of a piece of what they call the atom. So I began to understand how these pieces fitted together, and subsequently how they exposed themselves, and subsequently how that became a $1 trillion industry. Wow. You think Apple got the applications? Whew. So that's where my research begins. Applications. With each application comes what you might call an apparatus. apparatus. Can you imagine apparatus? So we come out with the camera, the lens, and after that, you can't imagine. Or did you? You just became a product of that imagined reality. Whew. So that's an interesting area of the entire history. So in 1971, after I had gotten that kind of information, I decided, well, I need to get into education. That's the only way into people's mind. So I conspired with what I might want to call the man who had the knowledge, Dr. Lord Evon. Whew, out there. He's more out there than John Coltrane that I met back in 1964. Found the wizard. Whew. Walking into the wizard's domain was like walking into this old, dark, forbidden reality. And alongside of the walls, all the walls was filled with books. From the minute you entered into this domain, this long highway of books. Wow. Go into the living room, it's so quiet that you begin to wonder, where's the windows in this space here? There were no windows. And I would look at the books and the fat furniture, waiting for this wizard to show himself. And when the wizard appeared, I said, you know, I know you. All along this highway of pay attention, I've been counting people like you. So you're the one at the end of this weird road, huh? Okay. Now, what do you want? You ask me. I say I'm interested in the idea of interference photography. Oh, that. Oh. So I never went that far into that conversation. Instead, I got more involved in his conversation, which was all this everyday thought and kind of applications within the photochemical process had came to an end. Oh, really? So I pondered on that for a while after leaving him. Wow. You mean what I'm doing now have come to an end? I just finally learned how to do this stuff, man. Come on now. Phew, what a blow. And then shortly afterwards, we talked about the problem and decided we needed a solution to the problem. So he called up his buddy at Minnesota Minings. They have this interesting young man sitting over by me. And I think we need to upset the educational system and start some active thoughts within the institutions dealing with the science of the image. Boom. It went into effect. All I had to do was wait for it to happen. And one morning after that, I read in the New York Times, which I read every day, that the Lord Evon had died of a massive brain hemorrhage. And on the same page, Rod Serling had died twice. Boy, did that send me into, I flipped, man. Can you imagine? My major support system just died. Uh-oh. I'm alone. So then I was given the opportunity to have my own nonprofit art educational organization. Spirits are at work again. And out of that, in 1971, I met up with my equal. Equal? Pay attention now. I was sent to this person by outside sources that was helping Mr. Nixon become president of the United States. Whew. So I showed up this individual's space. Open, airy, and light. Typical loft environment on Fifth Avenue, around 27th Street. Mr. Cornell Kappa sat at a desk, picking up slides, looking at them. And I said to myself, uh-oh, you got trouble, Paul. This guy's on the same level as you. So, naturally, the idea didn't go any place with him, so I started my own institutions. As he started his own institutions, it was called International Center of Photography. And it was going to be housed in a special place on Fifth Avenue in a brownstone. Wow. I subsequently went there to see a premiere exhibition by Mr. Eugene Smith. Wow. Boy, that was some show. Yeah. He stuck prints all over the place, literally, with tape. It's kind of like beginning to scratch my head on this one. Anyway, I started my own little program, and as the medium began to grow old, release and less support, the whole idea about user-friendly began to come into place. Artificial intelligence. Whoa. Wow. Artificial intelligence. It was there all along. It was just a matter of what presence it was going to take and what applications, apparatus it was going to use. So I realized there's a disappearing history of apparatus. So I began to have some concerns about whether or not it's important to preserve this history of artifacts. That's what it generated itself into. And then they came this area here, prints. Something I predicted way back during one of my advanced workshops in terms of what was going to happen and how it was going to happen. In fact, one of my earliest writings was picked up by Camera in London and published about this process here. I recently stumbled upon some rather interesting images of birds photography. birds flapping their wings, caught, give or take, 75 yards away, taken with a spotting scope with a long tube on it, just to get the focal plane in place. You know what f-stop that was? You can't imagine. It's like a pinhole. Cameras fired at 1/8,000th of a second. You realize how sensitive a film had to be in order to capture that in full detail and color? Realize all the different physics that crashed among each other that made that almost impossible to do? Well, sensitivity is the formula. What formula? You take 25,000 ASA, 30,000 ISO. It's called ISO. It used to be called ASA. Now it's ISO. Hard to keep up with this language here. So I decided to take a look at the camera this guy's using and look at the specs on it. I went down to ISO and I was like, whoa, look at the figures these folks got here. How many people know about this? I didn't know about this. Holy, this guy's shooting with a spotting scope, getting perfect images. And the Nikon camera, man, it don't make it darker. You see what you got, man. Anyway, I posted some of those on Facebook. Most people look at them, I know their mind kind of like say, wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture here. How did he do that? But they go on beyond that, and that's not the question anymore. He did it. And I think I'm more intelligent than he is, so therefore, I can do that too. No, it's a matter of, I don't know how he got around to understanding how to use that. But apparently it came together for him to shoot bird photographies at 1/8,000th of a second. Beautiful images. It's amazing. Anyway, that's just one of the aspects of how this whole apparatus thing was able to convert itself and still hold on to what you might call its image as a camera, its image as a lens. Buried within that is artificial intelligence. Imagine taking all those L applications, crashing the numbers, boom, what do you want? I want sensitivity. Mash it into the button and watch the algorithms go to work. Serious stuff. Anyway, pay attention.